Good morning, GM. Thank you, everybody here, for choosing to spend your time at our third inaugural NoirCon.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm Zashi. I'm on the board of Electric Coin Company. We're going to be talking about Zcash and Zcash's first-party wallet, Zashi. This is Pseudo and Violet. They're also going to be telling stories. This is very ad hoc. Audience participation encouraged. You can also just yell at me and tell me I'm wrong about things. So you know, all good, all open, and cool. So hopefully this is stuff that you're interested in hearing about. All right. I was trying to turn off my screensaver, but it's like not really.
Hi, welcome. We're just getting started. So Zashi will be going through most of the content, and our role here is to ask questions when they come to mind. So is yours. And toward the end, we'll have kind of a little fireside chat with Violet to share how she uses Zcash and how life was before Zcash.
It's going to get very hot in here.
Yeah. Okay. I'm giving up. I'm just going to keep touching my screen to keep it from dying. All right. I haven't given a talk from my laptop in like a million years.
Do you want me to load on my laptop?
No, we're good. We'll live. It'll all be fine.
Oh.
All right. So what is Zashi? Zashi is the sort of official Electric Coin Company wallet. Electric Coin Company built the first Zcash node. It has been a core contributor to the protocol for 9 years. And built a wallet after, for many years, Zcash had wallets by third parties that had, let's say, mediocre shielded support. And so the idea of building Zashi by Electric Coin Company, and Zashi was released about 18 months ago, was to have something that really like showed off the best features of the protocol, and it's basically the best Zcash wallet right now. It doesn't mean somebody else couldn't build a better wallet. The code's all open source, but like currently is the best. So mobile first design, it's available on iOS and Android. It shields transactions by default, and it supports Orchard and Sapling, which are two of the kinds of shielded pools. And then it is also responsible for the mysterious thing called number go up technology, which is probably why we're giving this talk. So, you know, I think we're getting more and more feedback, especially with all the attention recently, about, you know, how easy it is to experience Zashi as sort of a standard user. But there is this like conceptual model that is very unfamiliar if all you know is Ethereum, Solana, that kind of thing, which is there are two kinds of addresses that you will see in your Zashi, T addresses and U addresses. And so a T address is just like a Bitcoin address. So Zcash started as a Bitcoin fork. And the idea was that the transparent system would be just like Bitcoin to make it easy for things like exchanges to integrate it. And then there would be the shielded system. That is, you know, sort of, so you have visible, transparent addresses, and they're the things that like you will interact with when you want to send funds to an exchange, et cetera. Hardware wallet is more robust. Hardware wallet support is more robust. U addresses are called unified addresses. And unified addresses are great because they can be, they've built, they bundle multiple address types. So like your wallet will automatically select the best privacy option. So if you like send a U address to a wallet that only supports Sapling, it will send funds via Sapling. If you send it via a wallet that supports Orchard, it will support Orchard. And so you have this sort of future-proof address system. The other thing that is cool about, so like Zashi will do this, is every single time you can you can give someone a U address, and they can keep using it as much as they want. But every time in Zashi you copy paste a U address every time you copy paste an address, it changes. So you're giving everyone a unique address. This is just provides sort of additional privacy properties out of bound. So yeah, there are lots of services that don't. But and so basically, when you open Zashi, it will give you a T address. And if you bought coins on like Coinbase or Binance, and you're ready to shield them, you just put in that T address, send it there, and then Zashi will take care of shielding for you. Any thoughts, guys?
I have a question.
Which one?
There's this thing called a Z address. Where did it go? What if I see it?
Okay. Great question. Surprise question. So this is just pulling things off the top of my head. If anybody remembers differently, please bring it.
It's a legacy thing, so don't worry about it now. But if you interact with, other wallets or whatever, you'll see a Z address.
Yeah, and especially, or if you bought coins in like 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, you might have coins in a Z address, and you're like, what can I do with these coins? Most modern, Zashi right now doesn't necessarily, I think will support coin recovery from both sapling Z addresses, but if you have a very old Sprout Z address, Zashi currently doesn't support coin recovery from it, and it is not a simple procedure, but we're working on it. It's like probably priority number one for Zashi to support long-term coin recovery from all previous addresses. Okay, so once upon a time, once upon a time, a bunch of scientists, professors, academics, discovered this thing called snarks. And snarks have turned out to be this incredibly powerful cryptographic technology that enables scalability and privacy. But they wanted to make Bitcoin without the privacy, without the linkability of all past transactions. So Bitcoin has this fungibility problem. You can see where the coins came from. You can see the whole lifetime of the coin from the time when it and addresses get tainted. This was the Silk Road. This was Lazarus. Blah blah blah. So this has always been perceived as a problem with Bitcoin. By even Satoshi was like this. There are Bitcoin talk posts about Zashi being like, it would be really nice if there was a solution to this problem. So the initial version of Zcash used an early version of, the first version of snarks in production, and that was called Sprout. And one of the big problems that Sprout had was you basically needed a very powerful computer to generate proofs. So basically it was desktop only. And at that time, even 10 years ago, it was fairly powerful desktop only. And so Sprout was great. It had great privacy properties. It turned out, had a flaw in its initial setup that potentially could have resulted in minting, unlimited minting of coins if anyone had exploited it. There's no evidence that anyone ever has. But because of all of these things, we ended up in this, ECC over the course of the next, 5 years, 10 years, 5 years, kept inventing better upgrades. So Sprout initially had this initial trusted setup. Then Sapling was invented, and Sapling had this great property of being able to be provable. You could generate proofs on mobile phones, and had a much larger trusted setup. So instead of 10-ish people, it had hundreds of people. I was in the Sapling setup ceremony. Then we eventually invented Orchard, which removes the trusted setup entirely, which I think has been a big a big validation and has like preserved this property of like you can use this on standard mobile phones.
So
Can I add a little bit to that, if I may? Also, can someone turn me on a little bit more, please? But faster and harder. A little bit more, just higher. Thank you. So, okay, we'll see if that goes. So for what it's worth, when I describe this, because this is a question everyone gets, right, when they open up Zashi and they see these two address types, one of the things that I think is the simplest thing to understand is, as Zaki is saying, the transparent addresses are just Bitcoin. Every single thing you know about Bitcoin works for the transparent addresses, exactly the same. It is literally Bitcoin, a fork from 2016. The U addresses, the U in the unified address is an encoding format. So inside of a U address, you have any number of basically arbitrary data that you are encoding other address types into. That future-proofs the address type so that we can change the address type as we move forward in the future.
Wow.
The sapling addresses are beginning with the letter Z, to say zero knowledge. Orchard addresses similarly. So the secret ones are Z addresses that you'll see. Exactly what kind they are depends on the decoding scheme that you're looking at, but Zashi's new, I think it's zip 320, zip 3 something or other, is the U addresses that simply encode what the other addresses are. So you can go to zcash.space, punch in a U address there, and it will decode for you which addresses you're looking at, actually. And you can just use those, either the orchard or sapling addresses that you have encoded in the U address, and you can publish those as well. They will work, but the U address is basically a future-proof encoding format for addresses.
Amazing.
Okay, sorry. So that was wonderful. You answered a question I didn't know how to ask. Wonderful. But just to clarify, from a user perspective, you only care about using a U or a T, correct?
Yeah. And that's all we show people in Zashi.
And then inside the U, actually what's happened is there are different types of Z addresses.
Well, it's just an arbitrary data encoding format. So you can actually encode whatever you want, but what you're obviously wanting to encode is an address to receive money because everyone wants to receive some money. So that's what that's primarily used for.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you.
And then for your U addresses, there is this concept of a viewing key. And a viewing key allows a third party who has the right set of tools to see what happened in your transaction, like amounts, what address, which addresses sent to who's, that kind of stuff. But like when the transaction was set, what the amounts, etc., without having any ability to like move funds. So you can use viewing keys with various tools in the expanding viewing key ecosystem in order to like do things like generate like reports, or like if you are like an exchange or something that needs to be able to like view have multiple services that audit how many transactions like how much funds came in. All of these things can be done. If you need to be able to prove to an exchange, hey, like I sent you funds, or a merchant that I sent you funds, you can give them a viewing key.
What about viewing keys for T addresses?
You don't need them.
It's a trick question.
Okay.
There's also a question back there.
Gemini is right now the only exchange that supports deposits via shielded access, and their customer support people are trained to know how to ask for viewing keys from users. If there are more...
Oh, wow.
Crazy. So Zashi supports accessing viewing keys. Yeah, this is how. Any other questions about viewing keys? All right. Okay. So so Zashi launches March of 2024, and we like fix lots of bugs, user experience improves, all of the stuff, syncs get faster, all of the stuff. But at the beginning of this year, we launched this sort of revolutionary integration between Near, which is another blockchain, which has a DEX called Near Intents, that is integrated into Zashi. And what's very cool about it is that for the first time, there was a way to get in and out of the shielded pool on Zcash without passing through a centralized exchange. So unlike all of those other mechanisms where you were going to get KYC'd, entering and exiting Zcash, now there is a very large on-ramp that is doing $3 billion. NearIntents as a whole is doing $3 billion in volume. Maybe about 20 or 30% of that is in and out of Zec. But if you use it from within Zashi, it just automatically, so you can move funds from ETH, from Sol, from Bitcoin, from USDC on many chains, all of which are supported by NearIntents, and you can swap in and out, and it takes you directly to, as of this week, in and out of the shielded pool. And so you get very good fees. It's all integrated to Zashi, no KYC. It is possible, if you have funds on chain, it is the easiest way to get onboarded into the Zcash. And spreads are very competitive with what you would find in a centralized exchange. So NearIntents, in a lot of ways, when the NearIntents integration for Zcash and for Zashi launched, that was probably the beginning of what we saw was an asymptotic increase in the use of the shielded pool. Just because so many people found it much more useful, you could use it for so many more things. And then there's a bunch of functionality that is built on top of NearIntents as a primitive that we're going to talk about. Any questions? But it's a very simple thing where basically if you want to swap into Zec, you go to Zashi, you select the swap function, you swap into Zec, it'll give you an address. You can send to that address from Phantom or MetaMask or wherever. Yeah. It's possible, because we do support the opcodes for cross-chain atomic swaps. In general, cross-chain atomic swaps have failed in the marketplace because the user experience is worse than this.
I think one thing also worth pointing out is that the other asymptotic increase in the shielded pool probably comes from the fact that Zashi will force you to shield your funds, and a lot of other wallets are beginning to do that too. So you're seeing auto-shielding wallets that will require you that if you are going to be holding Zec in a self-custodial way, you will be doing it as a shielded amount of your value, right? So that means that anytime you are swapping in from a transparent coin or token into Zashi's Zec, you're holding Zec and Zashi, it will be shielded. Zashi calls this auto-shielding, others do too, but it's also what they say, they're forcing you to spend shielded funds. You can't spend transparent funds from Zashi at all.
So the other...
That actually confused me a little, because I was hitting the T address, hoping I could spend from it. But
yeah, no. In fact, this is probably
bad.
Yeah, this is in fact also one of the pitfalls.
Well, sometimes people don't accept. You want to send the T.
Well, so for example, if you want to send to a centralized exchange like Coinbase, for example, they don't support any of the unified address formats, and they don't support any of the shielded funds because of regulatory issues in the United States. So if you wanted to send funds to, for example, Coinbase, then you would have to de-shield it yourself, right?
But you can send, so Coinbase will allow you to send from the shielded pool to, okay, so this is...
Zashi will allow you to send from the shielded pool
to a transparent address.
To a transparent address.
And Coinbase will accept that.
Yes, because you are sending it to the T address.
One of the things that we did, so specifically Binance decided that they could not accept sends directly from the shielded pool. So we created a new address type, which I don't remember what the letters are.
TEX.
TES.
TEX.
TEX. That Binance uses. And Zashi does know how to do that. So it will do the
shield. It does not.
It doesn't?
I just confirmed with Lucas. It does not.
I thought it knew.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think the
so you can send to a lot of your exchanges except for Binance.
But the takeaway is that you want to be sending to, you want to know who you're sending, what they're accepting. But this is true for any cryptocurrency, right? If I'm sending, for example, to a Solana network, if I'm sending USDC on Solana, I send it to USDC on Polygon, I've just lost my money. Right? And this is true sort of within the Zcash ecosystem as well. And that's one of the easier ways to think about where you're sending to or from.
So then the next system that we built is this cross-pay system. So if you have a payment address like you would see in like MetaMask, like any sort of invoice, pay for your Devconnect tickets, et cetera. You can do that directly from Zashi, and we support 20 plus chains. And basically what you do is, and like basically this is a use of the near intent system, but in this near intent system, it knows, rather than being like, what is the market rate for swapping, 0.1 ZEC for ETH, it's figuring out how much ETH or how much USDC you need to make the payment, and then figuring out how much ZEC you need to swap to achieve that. And it sort of makes that very user-friendly. So basically, it allows you to do these things with no intermediary wallet. Like you don't have to like send funds to your MetaMask, then make a payment.
I also love CrossPay. CrossPay is the one feature that took my workshops when I was teaching this down from about 10 steps to 5, because this is the one that makes you not have to do any math. You can just say, this is the amount that I want the receiver to get, no matter what. And if I am able to punch in like $50, right, USD, then the CrossPay system will calculate transaction fees for me to send to the DEX, and the other way around also from the DEX back to the ultimate destination, the recipient. We'll also translate a slippage tolerance that I'm setting to send more in case of a slippage between currency swaps. It'll send all of that value from my shielded funds, and then the recipient will get exactly and only USD $50 at the time of the swap. Any overages that I send to the DEX in order to make sure the swap succeeds, the payment succeeds, gets refunded automatically to me, to my shielded address, which is beautiful because it means I can do it quickly without calculating anything in my head. So it's basically a swap that like is a payment experience.
No, it's an ETH address controlled by a near smart contract. So no, because it goes directly into the shielded pool. So like I guess the near intent system does see currently, and it's like public on the near intent system, what your like unified address is, but that's it. And there is some talk of fixing that at one point. No, it'll use a different one every time. So like every time you use near intents, it'll grab a unique new unified address. And so like you won't be able, like if you have 5 different ETH addresses and you send funds to the same Zashi account, each one of those sends will look like they're going to a different Zashi account. But if you swap 5 times from the same ETH address to, it'll also plausibly look like you are sending funds to 5 different Zashi accounts. No, it's all directly to the shielded address. As of this week, that feature shipped on Monday.
Before what happened?
Before, there was a transparent address in between, and that transparent address was fixed for every Zashi instance.
This is for the deposit swap or the CrossPay? Or both?
Kind of both.
Both CrossPay and the swaps that are powered by near intents. So CrossPay is simply a different UX on using near intents as a swap. You experience it as a payment because for a payment, what you care about is that the receiver gets exactly what you said that they should get because that is the price that they are telling you you owe them. For a swap, you're simply trying to ensure that whatever amount you get ends up at the rate that you wanted, insofar as you're sending a specific amount, but you're receiving some varied amount. That's the difference. But they are both functionally, technically implemented in exactly the same capacity when it gets to the near intent system.
Can you go to the previous slide?
Which one?
Previous. Traditional exchange. Yeah. Can you explain refund addresses?
So in near intents, when you are swapping from the Zcash side, or well, for anything, near intents has to have has to have a refund address. One use case of the refund address is you sent your funds, but then no one was willing to process your swap. So near intents don't have like liquid. If you're familiar with something like Uniswap, there's no liquidity pool on near intents. What there are is solvers on the other end. Anyone can be a solver. They publish a quote, but then they actually have to provide the funds. So if the funds don't get delivered, near refunds your money. And it's like about 3 seconds if the funds aren't delivered.
So if there are more than 2 of these, your transactions will be linked, right?
No,
Why?
because now your refund addresses are shielded addresses as of Monday.
I see. Got it.
Okay, so we did cross-pay. Okay, so then this is another cool service within Zashi, which is the system that you can sign up for called Flexa. And Flexa, I think, doesn't require KYC for like less than $500 in transactions.
They require KYC Lite, but you can just lie about what your name is, and you can give them an email address that you can have like just some access to, and they'll give you $750 a week
Yeah.
of spending power through gift cards that they provide.
Yeah. So yeah, under $150, you can spend fund payment at like ordinary payment terminals. You can buy a cup of coffee at just like from a normal credit card swipe with Zashi, and the funds come directly from your shielded account. So again, no on-chain linkage. Zuko constantly will tweet about buying burritos and stuff. Yeah, and so you can use Zashi as like if you do the KYC with Flexa, you can actually just use it as like an ordinary like payment account for yourself, like a bank account, which is really cool. It is, so you go to electriccoin.co/ZASHI. No, but like in the wallet, you do more, you click more. You click more. On the far right, it goes receive, send, pay, and then more. And there's a Flexa button, pay with Flexa.
That's probably because you got the app from the F-Droid store. Yes, and Flexa, it requires some non-free software that is not allowed to be accessed via the F-Droid store. So you have to download it via the Google Play Store if you want that feature. However, you also can use the cross-pay feature to go through things like Bitrefill or Piggy cards or other gift card off-ramps, and that's another way to do effectively the same thing. Or you can back a cryptocurrency, you can use a cryptocurrency-backed Visa card to off-ramp in a very similar way as Zaki's describing here.
Yeah. So these are kind of the options for paying for things out of Zashi. It's actually, I think, given how kind of under the radar the Zcash ecosystem is so, it's actually like a surprisingly mature system today. Like it can do a lot of things, and so you can interoperate with CrossPay. You can use Flexa. You have exchanges that will. There are lots of exchanges. Unless you're a European, basically, you can get an exchange that probably supports Zec pretty well. And then there's also this BTC Pay server is like a merchant app that also provides like sort of a self-hosted pay with Zec option. We've been seeing things like VPNs and stuff like that using that. Okay.
I think NIM VPN now you can pay for.
Yeah, NIM VPN.
With Zcash, with your Zashi app. Yeah.
Okay. So this is like the basic civilian how to use Zashi. What most people would probably care about. We're going to get a little bit into sort of more advanced topics. Do you want to talk about anything else before we move on? Okay. All right. So again, if your mental model of the world is Ethereum, a lot of these concepts I think should be familiar. So like Zashi is a light client, which means it is syncing the chain, and because your sends are encrypted, right? Like the node that you're talking to can't actually decrypt your transactions. So instead, there's this light client protocol that allows you to request block headers and transactions from Zcash full nodes, and they send you these block headers and transactions, and then you trial decrypt. And there's a bunch of hiding of network activity. But under ordinary conditions, the operator of your light client can see this network activity. They're like, there's a device at such and such IP address that is, syncing, that did come online, and so this leaves some trace of your Zashi activity on the network. So RPCs are configurable. If you want to only trust yourself, you can run a self-hosted light client D node. The software is all open source, but not the easiest thing in the world to run. Then there are a bunch of community members who are running Zashi infrastructure, and that's what you would be syncing against by default. So there's an automatic configuration where Zashi tries to pick the best server for you as you open the app.
Can we look at some of these? So in the app, you hit settings, the settings icon, advanced settings, choose a server. Do you know these servers? Do you know these servers?
Yeah, my friend runs most of those servers.
Oh, wow.
So what you're saying is the privacy leak is your friend.
Well, this is why Zashi, what I tell people is that you should really just turn on Tor protection, which is built into Zashi. So when you
Yes.
go into the
We're going to
advanced
talk about
settings-
Tor in a
okay,
second.
Great, good.
Okay. So there is a
I will
Rust
choose this
implementation
and
of a Tor node called
Choose,
RT.
both. I will.
And RT was funded by, partially funded by the Zcash Grants Committee, which gets part of the block reward. So Tor is a system that uses this concept called onion routing to hide your network activity. And basically the concept of Tor is there are entry and exit Tor nodes, and then there's a community of people who run Tor middle nodes. And so basically when you connect to any server over Tor, you send your request over the public internet to the Tor entry node. Then it goes to a Tor relay node, which sees the entry node and the exit node, but doesn't know where it came from. And then that forwards the request to the exit node, which sees the middle node and where you're going, but not where you came from. And given all of that, we're able to make Tor is able to provide an additional level of privacy to Zashi users. And it can be enabled using turning on advanced settings. And once you turn on advanced settings, everything you do via Zashi, whether it's near intents or cross pay or all of these things, are all happening over Tor. Trying to think. So I mean, it basically does give you a substantially higher level of sort of network privacy than you would. And I also would say that, in my mind, Tor is not perfect. We would, I think, especially with all the attention and renewed investment interest and potential money for spending on new infrastructure that is in Zcash, we could potentially do more. But I think this was a really good deliverable from funding the RD work and also made Tor a more sustainable project because the original Tor client is all a bunch of C++ code, C code that is extremely hard to maintain. So it was good for the world, good for Zcash, not the perfect solution, but is definitely something if you are concerned about network privacy and want to de-link things that are how attributable your Zashi, you can just turn it on inside of Zashi.
Do you know how that happened? I was on the ZCG, the grant committee, when we gave that grant. But the way it was described is Tor needs to upgrade to Rust. That's all.
Yeah.
It did not say in the future we will do this for Do you know how this happened?
So effectively for the part of it that I was kind of tangentially involved and once upon a time I was more involved in Tor, haven't been involved for 5+ years. But what I remember was it was okay, so we have this giant bundle of C that only very few people were really qualified to make changes to. It was like a complete nightmare, especially as, Tor is now more than a 10-year-old, almost 15-year-old project, maybe more. Like
Launched in 2002 or 3.
yeah, 20+ year project. Like it's an old project. A lot of the people who were developers in Tor have all cycled out and moved on to the rest of their lives. And so there's like been an ever shrinking population of people who were familiar enough to it. So that was the ask from ZCG. But one of the things that you get for everybody who's developed in Rust, and as the blockchain community has like encountered over and over again, is Rust is a very flexible language. It's far more flexible language than sort of other alternatives. And that made it like really easy, especially because everything, like all of the cryptography in Zcash that's in Zashi is all implemented in Rust. So once you have already built out all of this, the whole like sort of tool system for integrating Rust into Android apps and iOS apps, okay, like we're gonna add another Rust thing. It's actually like not that big a headache, and it conveniently turned out that RT was actually like very low developer effort to actually integrate, which was really cool. It was definitely part of the vision of RT that like it would be like a more embeddable in application use case. Like that was definitely part of the vision, because like Tor had historically mainly been consumed through Tor browser, and again, the maintainability of Tor browser was definitely in decline. And so like people like Brave and all started wanting to embed Tor, but if you don't have a very like embedding friendly, which the original Tor client, which was built, was originally designed 20 years ago, never really conceived of these use cases. So there was this opportunity.
Have there been other high-profile projects that have been able to embed Tor because of this?
I don't know.
Cake Wallet also embeds Tor in exactly the same way. Actually, you can turn on Tor protection in a lot of some of these kinds of different like built-in apps. RD is intentionally a library that does it inside of other applications.
Right. Okay. So lots of others.
The real problem, to be like extremely technical about why Tor is not an ideal solution, is if you have like a panopticon view of the internet, like if you're if you have like you view all the telcos, you can view everything, which like plausible adversaries have, you can like see the network activity that looks like a Zashi payment transaction going out, and then be like, oh, it emerged here, and like you can probabilistically say like we think this payment originated from this phone, right? And we could build systems, so there are things called mixed nets which would hide that information, but Tor is a good solution.
Yeah. NIM does that, right? Mixed nets.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
NIM is very similar in that capacity, but they also add a lot of what they call a certain kind of jitter or padding or noise to the thing. It's basically Tor-like, but it has some advances in the fact that they're trying to specifically make this traffic correlation pattern a little bit more difficult to find.
Standardizing.
For Zashi, the real important thing for using Tor is something that you're hiding your IP address both from your ISP so that they don't know that you are using Zcash, and that you are hiding your identity from your Light Wallet node operator. So regardless of which node you choose, they don't. The operator does not know who is accessing. My friend doesn't know that it's you. And so it's really just like you should consider it like a first hop of a protection, much like a VPN might. As Zaki's saying, the traffic correlation issue is bad for a global adversary. However, as more and more of these are being added to the network, we're also adding more opportunity to run a Zcash Light Wallet node off an Onion service as well. And in that situation, you're never leaving the Tor network, and you have much less of an opportunity. Like you just further reduce the opportunity for traffic correlation in that capacity too.
Yeah. So in general, it's like more people who turn on Tor from Zashi, the more anonymity, network anonymity everyone has, which is good. These are the things.
That's a good segue, I think, to the last, more informal, fun part.
Yeah.
Zaki, you want to pull up a chair?
Yeah, I'll sit down.
Okay. So, Violet obviously is an expert user of not just Zashi, but the related like Flexa, I don't know, BTC Pay ever?
Yeah, BTC Pay server.
Zcash has been around a long time. So has crypto. I mean, relative to other things. But like one of the things that drives the people who build it, and we've come very close to the brink a few times. We've come within months of runway left, but you have these true believers who keep doing the thing they believe is valuable to the world because they truly want to build for people. I mean, they want to build for everybody, but especially people for whom private money is essential to their livelihood, their health and safety. And I think what I would love is for Violet to tell us a little bit about how she uses Zcash. And I just met her a few days ago, where she started to tell me very detailed instructions about where exactly to click in the Zashi app and in what situations, and I was really impressed by that. So it'd be really great to hear from you, how you use it, maybe how life was like before Zcash or even Zashi existed.
So I think what we're trying to get to is that I use Zcash in my day-to-day life, not for investing. I don't really give a shit about the price of your coin tomorrow. Whatever you promise me about the next week doesn't matter to me, at all. I have only one care when I use technology, and that's what is the utility it gives me today, because I have stuff I have to pay for yesterday. And so if that can't be solved, I'm not interested in your technology. This started for me with Zcash because I'm a sex worker. And so for me, as a trans sex worker in New York, one of the things that was very, very, very important was that I was able to get digital cash in a way that was undoxable, unchargebackable, that you couldn't retrieve from me once you gave it to me, and that I could still do in a remote way. And so that's what digital cash does if it's truly private. Looking at all the technologies out there, it was clear to me that Zcash was going to be the best option because the encryption and the privacy schemes were by far the best, and because of, as Zaki is talking about, the user experience in Zashi is bar none. Like, it is top-notch user experience, so easy to use. So I started onboarding friends and clients to use Zcash with me for payments and for deposits that I needed to collect from men who were wanting to set up a date, but I hadn't yet met in person yet. If you're serious about spending 3 hours with me alone and possibly without fully clothed, then I want to make sure that you put down a 20% deposit before you do that so we can spend our time together.
But hang on, Zashi only existed 18 months ago, right? Did you use a different wallet before?
So before Zcash and digital cash, we were just doing this with cash. Okay. Deposits were a maybe. And on top of that, I was using things like Cash App or PayPal or any of the remote technologies that you would expect, Stripe, fiat services, Zelle, etc. These are all incredibly dangerous for me to use because if you, for example, have used Cash App for anything that's not just pay-to-pay within Cash App, you might be asked for your KYC information. In March of this year, or I think it was April, Cash App started integrating with the Apple Pay wallet. And Apple Pay has a lot more strict requirements for KYC. They also started changing our usernames, our visible, the names that we see for who we are to each other on the system, for us to our legal names.
What?
Which is incredibly negligent in terms of a safety measure when we're talking about people who are doing this to collect deposits from clients who may be bad dates eventually, who may not want us, who may not wish us the best. And so this pushed me and a bunch of other provider friends that I know in New York to really, really care more about cryptocurrency. We were already using cryptocurrency for a number of things. A lot of sex work advertising sites, a lot of different services online that we use only accept crypto because our industry is criminal in so many parts of the world. So we have to pay with things like Bitcoin in the first place. On-ramping from fiat to Bitcoin is a problem in some cases, but then once we pay, right, even that payment is public. So there's a lot of misinformation in my industry about how much you're actually revealing, what information is public or not. Not everyone, a lot of people thought Bitcoin itself was private. And so when I started looking at the Block Explorer and I started seeing the Chainalysis tools and the various different literally open source ways of just finding out who is who, it became very obvious to me that Bitcoin was not going to be a great
So you never
solution.
used it?
I personally never used Bitcoin at all for any reason, never to hold, never to spend, because it is not a private money. And that is the problem for me. I need to have privacy because I cannot spend otherwise.
Yeah.
So the point is how do you add to that? Well, how do you use Bitcoin to pay for things if you are not private? Is you go through something like a Tumblr or a Mixer or something that we know very well in the Bitcoin space, none of which are perfect, all of which have problems. But then the shielded pool, as that size grows, right, your anonymity set grows with it, but also you end up in this tunnel that you can basically treat as a funnel for making a private transaction, even though you had some other public funds in the first place. I'm not going to say anything about certain washing systems. I'm just going to say it disassociates my funds from where I'm going to spend them. That's all. And so that became a very important piece of the puzzle. And a lot of us started by just needing to pay for our ads. So when I, for example, want to have an ad listed up online, I need to pay for that in Bitcoin, right? Because that's what they support. The prevailing advice was on-ramp on Coinbase, send to a self-custodial wallet like Exodus or Trust or whatever other wallet you want, and then pay from there. But that creates a one-hop transaction graph like difference between the source of the on-ramp, my KYC Coinbase account, to where I'm spending my escort ad. Now it's known to the public Bitcoin network that this escort ad is being paid for by this particular KYC'd account. Do you see the danger there? That's incredibly risky. More so on Bitcoin than it was on a credit card. I would rather be allowed to pay for my escort ad with a credit card than I would on Bitcoin. Yeah. Why? Because at least with a credit card, only Visa and the vendor knows that I've made that payment, and the bank, right? On Bitcoin, every single person looking at the blockchain can see where I started from the KYC account, if they can get that information from the exchange or the bank, and they can see that I paid for that escort ad on the service that I'm buying, without ever asking me a question, without ever looking up records, without ever doing a subpoena. That is an insanely terrifying notion for so many people in my work. And so going through something like the shielded pool.
Stupid question. It is terrifying because what?
Because it's very simplistic to be able to identify the spender and the on-ramper.
So you're saying the on-ramper can say, okay, this person engages in sex work, I will ban you? Is that the fear?
Yes, that's exactly right. People have been debanked. I mean, I have a bank account frozen. What I'm trying to say is that the belief is that if you go through a exchange and then go to a self-custodial wallet, send your funds from an exchange to a self-custodial wallet, then you send to the service, right? You have one hop of distance between where you're getting the money and then what you're spending it on. But as we all know from any network analysis, a single hop in between a route is trivial to de-anonymize, right? So that doesn't make any sense.
Especially with AI, there's nothing anymore.
Stuff, yeah. Yeah, Yeah, sure.
Oh, that was my last question.
That's correct, yes. I have been told it was, but I don't know.
It is supposedly a
okay.
Q4.
I do know the details of this.
Okay.
So the storyline was, it was a priority to change it because we were going to do rotating transparent addresses for refund addresses for cross-pay and intents. And then shielded refund addresses happened like at an insanely fast rate, like way faster than anyone was expecting. So it's now no longer tier 1 priority to have rotating transparent addresses right now. Because like the usage surface area has decreased a lot for them.
Well, because most of the usage is through near intents, right? Like
and I mean, so it's basically just centralized exchange onboarding now that is doing T addresses.
I was so excited to see the unified address swap refund address feature released on Monday. So awesome.
I cannot believe how quickly it shipped. The near devs are insane. Like Alexi, when it was like engineering spec, it was like this is like 2 or 3 months of work, and Alexi's team did it in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
So yeah, it's crazy.
Anywho, so the more shielded addresses there are, obviously, the better. And this is exactly the point. Is that I would love to see other service providers also accept shielded addresses. I know CakePay allows you to pay for gift cards via shielded addresses as well.
Do you hold your ZEC, or do you hodl it?
I mean, so I've been getting paid in ZEC for about a year for the various fun times that I have.
Yeah.
And that has gone very well for me
Yes,
in the past 2.5, 3 months. So I will say that's been nice.
Yeah.
That was never the intention.
Sure.
a lot of people are afraid of volatility for a lot of reasons, and I understand that
Yeah,
like
because
as a
it
concern.
sounds like you use it for your daily life.
But it is my daily transacting, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Most of the things that I use now, most of the way that I transact in the fiat world is through a cryptocurrency-backed wallet of some kind. About, at this point, over half of my net worth is cryptocurrency. And it's not, again, it wasn't intended to be an investment.
Right.
It was just intended to be a checking account, basically. I kind of treated Zashi like my checking account, but it was just backed by crypto. And the thing about the volatility is that if you transact quickly, volatility doesn't matter, right? If I get paid $500 USD, as an example, but then I have to spend 500 USD on rent or utilities or groceries or something, and that happens within an hour, then I'm not really worried about volatility to the degree that so many people who are investing are. And 99% of people don't have money to invest in crypto. 99% of the conversations at this conference don't matter to most of the people that I know, and they never will, because we're not interested in the portfolio management aspect of this. We're just interested in making this useful for our lives, like in a day-to-day capacity. So volatility, while it's probably the number one question I get, right, from people who really don't have anything to care about volatility because they would just transact immediately, right? Volatility, I say, but isn't it volatile? And I say, yes, but if you are spending what you earn within about a day, right, then the volatility matters less. An hour, even less. 5 minutes, even less. The second biggest question is, what about liquidity? And Near Intense has basically just answered that question for everyone, which is beautiful for me. And now it's easy to go from one to another, cryptocurrency, and then off-ramp from there. So both of the biggest questions that were posed, right, by people who are in my industry and trying to survive on a day-to-day basis are answered in that way. The volatility matters less because we need to transact much more than we need to invest. And then the liquidity is not as hard as it was before the Near Intent system came out, because it gives us a off-ramp and an on-ramp from dozens and dozens of other cryptocurrencies.
Cool. I think we're coming toward the end. More questions? Nope.
So
The Keystone is the best wallet to use. It does unified addresses, no problem. The Ledger, what is the current status?
it's coming.
It's coming. It only started coming again since the Zcash went this way. They never supported shielded addresses. It was only T. And then there were some issues such that you can't even move your T out of an old ledger. But given the renewed interest, they have applied for a grant. It's been, I think, approved.
Yeah.
And they will be working on it. If not, I think they're going to be losing a lot of customers. Sorry? Is it a retroactive? Yes. Is it done already? But
So they have to ship it and then they get the money.
oh, I see. Right. Okay, huh? No. Trezor never has. Yeah. We paid Trezor, but they didn't ship. Okay, cool. Sorry, I wanted to. This is reminding me, what I said about Binance was not accurate earlier. Zashi, I believe, will create the right signatures or recognize the text address and send it to Binance. But if your Zashi is connected to Keystone, the Keystone cannot create that text transaction. Yeah.
That's what I remembered too. I don't have a Binance address, but
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I don't know if there are plans to change that. It's kind of edge case. Yeah.
yeah.
question?
Yeah, I mean, I can say what I know about programmability, which is so right now the most widely used bridge for Zcash is the near bridge. So there's like near bridged Zcash on Solana. Near bridged Zcash on Ethereum is going to on like Ethereum, Arbitrum, and Base are all going to launch soon. There was an effort to try and get it done by Devconnect, but didn't happen. So I think it's like if I remember, look, the launch is like a week or two away. So that launch is coming. There is Near also, like Near has a lending market right now that supports ZEC, so you can borrow against ZEC. And there's more Near lending markets for ZEC coming. And then there's this effort to put like a Stark verifier in the Zcash L1, which seems to have a lot of support and people seem to be fairly excited about, which then would open up like a lot more different programmability pieces.
Like what? Like what could you do?
Like more DeFi basically with better trust assumptions. And then, hypothetically, you could also have like a Noir you could go like Noir Cairo to Zcash.
Like, okay.
Yeah. So there's in general, ZEC is becoming very programmable very fast. And Maya shipped, and Maya just got shielded address support too. I do not know. I do know that if it's not there already, it's supposed to be there soon. One of the reasons why all of these things are good is in order to make ZEC a long-term trustworthy store of value, the shielded pool a long-term source of privacy. And the best privacy comes from holding assets in a shielded pool and then kind of like not touching them for a very long period of time. So you want people to do that. People need to know that there are going to be many different on and off ramps. So if we can sort of enable an environment in which there's many different ways to get in and out of the shielded pool, the probability that all of them will be closed off becomes very small, and so that's a thing that is like a real sort of mission of the Zcash community, ECC, Zashi, etc. So we want to support everything. So the Red Bridge, the Maya, none of these things are, from our point of view, should be disadvantaged. Like all of these things are hugely additive as they come online. You kind of want to have all of them in Zashi, but obviously there's going to be usability complications because they don't all support the same semantics. But yeah, having bridge ZEC in more ecosystems is also going to be really.
But when they're bridged, they're just native. They don't have any privacy.
Unless the ecosystem has privacy.
Which of these that you mentioned?
So we have some amount encrypted ZEC on Solana right now, because there's a Solana DEX called Encipher that has encrypted ZEC, so that's happening. And then there's just not that many. On Ethereum you can shield anything in Railgun.
So on that exchange on Solana, what do you do that's private?
It's called Encipher.
Yeah, but all trading is private?
There's just some fraction of trading that goes through, some small fraction of trading that goes through Encipher.
So I could have private ZEC and privately trade for something else?
Yeah.
Wow, cool.
But amount privacy, not metadata, not address privacy.
Oh, okay. Like it'll be clear who I'm trading against.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay. I think
Great,
we're good.
thanks.
Thank you all for coming.
Yeah. I hope this was valuable.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Zaki.
Yes.